So who do you think actually wins? Does the bad wolf win or the good wolf wins? Sometimes people say, I don't know why I behaved like that. Or I wish I could have behaved like that. The old man paused for a moment and said, for each and every person, whenever there is a conflict between the good wolf and the bad wolf, the strong one always wins. The wolf which is stronger wins. The young man was even more puzzled. But he said, but I don't know. I have not even seen these wolves. So how do I know which one will win? The old man said, the one you feed, the one you choose to feed will become the strong one in your life. So another key point of our understanding of emotional well-being is we become what we choose to nourish. Our thoughts, the strongest thoughts are those which we have chosen to nourish and feed. So that's why it is important that we clearly understand who are the key players in our emotional well-being. I'll briefly touch back upon some key points. Our body has needs like roti, kapda, makan, food, clothing, and shelter. Our subtle body has its own emotional needs. The subtle body is like the inner garment. The gross body is like the outer garment. Second point is the mind is the pivot. The mind is the key, and the mind has three functions: thinking, feeling, and willing. So which are the thoughts which dominate us? Those thoughts whom we choose to feed, we choose to nourish. In the initial days of our Janta curfew, and we banged those thalis and we lighted lamps, and then we saw how the Jamuna was so pristine blue, and then we saw how from Jalandhar we could see the Himalayas, and then we saw drone photography of Mumbai city, so calm and so quiet. I don't see any of those videos now. There were cartoons of people living in their apartments, caged, and wild animals with shades and in safari vehicles taking a tour of our cities. So I think the humor part, or I may dare use the word, the glamour part of COVID kind of faded in the background, and now it is 6 months, 6.5 months, and we have to adjust with the new normal, and our work schedule has been turned upside down. We have to stay with our family for so many hours. I was talking to a group of chartered accountants in New Delhi, and someone said that yes, that is a new challenge. That previously I would go for work, to teach or to work in the lab and come back home, and life with the family was say in 2 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours, 2 hours at night, and I'm having my own private space. Now for many, we have to stay with all of them. Good point for some people, but otherwise for someone else. Key takeaway number one: a calamity is something which doesn't knock on your door and say, I'm coming. An emergency is something which is an emergency by definition. It means it doesn't knock on your door. What happens when we are faced with an emergency? Psychologists have observed that you take the shelter of some thought leader. If there is no one in your life, then you are the thought leader for yourself. I don't know whether it is good or bad. You have to decide yourself. Do you go into conspiracy theories? Well, this was in Wuhan and the Chinese are out to dominate the entire world. Well, it is some biological weapon somebody was devising and something happened. I will come to the point of taking care of these things, but right now the important point is once a calamity has set its foot in the door, you do have to have a different set of tools to deal with it. There is a nice little, not nice in that sense, but a nice exemplary incident in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is about the parents of Krishna, Vasudev, the prince, and his newly married bride, Devaki, the daughter of King Devak, and the sister of Kamsa. As per the tradition at that time, the sister feeling intense separation from her parents' residence. She has her friends coming with her. She has some of her favorite paraphernalia coming with her. And to add to this sweetness, the brother tells the charioteer that you sit aside. I'm going to drive the chariot, and people are just oohing and eyeing that, my God, just see what love. Here is a brother and he's doing such a menial task of taking his sister. And as they are going by, there's a musical procession. People are showering flowers and people are looking at the bridegroom and the bride, and they're giving them a mouthful of Ashirvachan. May you prosper, may you have many children, may you be happy. And suddenly, baba boom, there is a prophecy. Kamsa, you fool, the eighth child of Devaki will be the cause of your death. And suddenly Kamsa, the very loving brother, he thinks, my sister's own son who's going to be the cause of my death? Well, I am too smart. I'm not going to let that happen. I'll kill my sister right here. No sister, no more sons. And within a moment, he draws his sword, catches the hair of his sister, and is about to decapitate her head. Now, this is emergency. So Vasudev, a quick thinker, following our Niti Shastra, which says that one can do all the planning one wants at the fear of experiencing a calamity. But once calamity is there in front of you, either you have to put that plan, or if you don't have a plan, you have to think fast. So Vasudev says, my dear brother-in-law, why you have to kill your sister and incur this wretched sin of killing a woman? Don't you know that it is one of the lowest acts? He said, I know, but what do I do? That heavenly voice said that her son is going to be the cause of my death. Vasudev said, is she the cause of your death, or her son will be the cause of your death? He says, her eighth son. He said, the eighth son. So she is not the cause of your death, right? And Kamsa says, oh, all right, so what's your point? A newborn baby will not kill you, right? And Kamsa is thinking, yeah, he's right. What if, right now I don't even know whether there will be sons, but if there are sons, I promise you, every time a son will be born, I'll bring him at your doorstep. And Kamsa, for everything else, he relied upon the word of Vasudeva. He knew that I can trust this person. This person is as good as his word, is a true gentleman. So Vasudeva said, let her live. Let there be sons. Every time a son is born, I will personally deliver it to you. So this is what our ancient Indian wisdom calls dealing with a vipada. Pada means to walk properly. The ground is firm, there are no other problems, and you can walk fast. But a vipada means something which completely puts you into a ditch or off track, upsets your normal balance. And this is where the distinction between people who are emotionally balanced and who are emotionally not balanced, that really rises to the surface. I presume all of you teaching in the premier institutes of technology in all of India, having a stellar academic career, having an equally stellar teaching career, face much more than the normal average person in India feels. Stress, anxiety, backbiting, politics. Now, I'm not here to pinpoint anyone. You may say, you, sir, you stay in an ashram and what? I mean, how do you know about politics? Believe you me, even in a organization of volunteers, this age is such that you still have that. So stress and anxiety is a part of everyone's life. And I'm not here as a Rishi Muni or someone who is wiser than all of you. I'm just here sharing some of the things which I have learned. So, since our core issue is about economic well-being, being in that position entails having a very high, what people call today, EQ. For each and every one of you, a high IQ is what has put you in today's position. Whether you are a teacher or a lecturer or a professor or a head of department or a dean or whatever. Well, research after research after research has proved that a high IQ may guarantee entry into any post which requires high IQ. But to be successful, you need to have EQ also. EQ means the emotional intelligence quotient. Let me read through some common terms used for uh, a person who is not emotionally balanced. So today psychologists have said that if you get angry, anxious, stressed very shortly or almost immediately, it's a sign that you need to have some work done on your EQ. If you don't know the impact of your behavior on the life of others, if you fail to understand others' feelings, if you don't manage other people's feelings, because basically emotionally balanced means you understand your emotions, you know how to deal with them, you understand others' emotions, and you also know how to deal with them. If you find someone behaving in a very self-centered manner, if you lose control of your emotions, especially during meetings, presentations, this one is very important. Sometimes people don't get the connection between emotions, thoughts, and behavior. That's a very good sign that their EQ is low. Some people successfully bring out the worst in others. Some don't meet new people, or they are afraid of maintaining relations, or they cannot maintain them. And the last one is simply overestimating your strengths. You cannot see anything beyond your strength. There's a very nice example in the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, Duryodhan goes to to Dronacharya and says that why you praise Yudhishthir so much? After continuously hearing this, one day Dronacharya told, all right, Duryodhan, you go out in the city, wander across the city the whole day, and let me know who is better than you. After Duryodhan left, Yudhishthir was called and he was asked, you wander across the city throughout the day and find out who is worse than you. Interestingly, they both came back and the answer was no one. Interestingly, Duryodhan and Yudhishthir gave the same answer. Duryodhan said there is no one better than me. Honest to God, I tried to find out, but I always found faults. And Yudhishthir also said, I couldn't find anyone worse than me. Friends, this speaks a lot about the way in which a person manages his or her life. So I will just recapitulate once again. We went through some of the basics of who we are, what our mind is. We talked about the good wolf and the bad wolf. Our emotional well-being is in our hands. We choose a particular thought process that's like a seed, and then we beget the results of that. After that, I went through some of the typical signs of emotionally unbalanced behavior. At the end, I would like to give you some tips on how to handle the COVID pandemic, especially with relation to emotional balance. So I presume all of you are very, very busy with projects with some added requirements during the crisis. So tip number one, get yourself a do not disturb sign. If you need time for yourself, you should have that. Tip number two, start your day with a very strong morning mind fortifying program. What's the meaning of mind fortifying? It includes writing down your affirmations or goals for the day, doing some meditation, reading wisdom literature. By wisdom literature, I mean something nothing to do with your academics, with sports, with music, with business, with entertainment, with politics, with social media. Something which has nothing to do with that. In India, we have the Vedic wisdom, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Gita, Bhagavad. This is something which is relevant whether it is COVID or no COVID. Tip number three is to have a discussion with your family, set ground rules, make time for everyone to talk about the things they need in order to remain steady. Let your family people, if you're staying with them, understand when you are available and when you are not. Tip number four, your workplace should not be your leisure place or your creative place. It's not like you just remove one table or push one chair and then you take rest or you sleep there. It has to be different. So these are small things, but since I've shared with people over the last 6 months, people are saying that, well, yeah, that kind of thing works. Tip number 6, don't chase the news. One very wise person, who also is my guide, says that to reduce anxiety and increase peace of mind, wait for the news, don't attack it. Don't check in every 10 minutes. What is the COVID positive score? How many deaths? How many percentages? If it is not vital for you, if you're not in the emergency services, you know what to do. Stay at home, wash your hands, don't touch your face. So don't stay constantly on the 24-hour news cycle. Of course, we cannot avoid news altogether, especially when during this time that information can be important. Actually, one can improve one's peace of mind by lengthening the intervals between one's consumption of such news. So I had put a kind of a moratorium on no news till 12:30. Of course, I am ashamed to say that sometimes I broke my own condition, but every time I broke it, I could understand that I need to get back. Lastly, there is a proverb which says that this too shall pass. Everything blows through. Looking back on everything, we're all going to see that this was a very pivotal time in history when, at least for the people who took advantage of it, we were able to get a new lease on life. So with that, I would like to end my session here. If there's any feedback or if there are questions, the authorities allowing, I would like to answer them.
So thanks, Shaman, for such an enlightening talk. I'm giving all the attendees the privilege to unmute themselves in case they would have something to ask. You have maybe 10 more minutes to put on your questions. So you can either put in the chat box or you're free to unmute yourself and ask. Okay, in the absence of any, yeah.
Hello.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Sir, sometimes actually I become very angry when the things are not happening with my style or with my thought. So how to control that one?
Okay, your question is, if I understand you correctly, when things don't go your way, you get very angry. Well, you could help yourself with some thoughts like, do I have a monopoly on wisdom? Have all my decisions which I have taken have come out correct, profitable for everyone? So in case, I will tell you where you have a right to become angry. If there is a fire, you are the only one who knows how to put a fire. And then if you find people giving suggestions and you shout at them, hey, everybody, shut up, just listen to me. This is very good because there's an emergency and we should not be having 3, 4, 5, 10 people telling you what to do. But sir, life is not like that. Life is not a series of fires only. You have to understand the price of getting angry. Sometimes those who know things better than you could be afraid to speak. Sometimes when it is not in your good interest to continue the course of action, people will not help you because again, you could become angry. So you can channelize your anger on towards those incidents where it's an emergency and you need to take care of things and you are doing it in the interest of the team or the subordinates or others. Otherwise, they say anger is just danger, is just one extra word for anger. So you add a D and anger will only take you to danger. And if you want some tools to keep your mind peaceful, then you can do some yogasanas, walking, pranayam, meditation. These can help you curtail your anger.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we still have time for one or two quick questions. So anyone, if interested, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Sir, my name is Sakshi Tyagi and I am assistant professor at Haldia Institute of Technology, that is in West Bengal. Sir, my question to you is that how can we manage our time or how can we make a balance between our work and our family so that we can get maximum out of both the things. We can do full in our work and full with our family also. Kindly give an answer for this.
Are you talking especially for the COVID times or in general?
In general.
Okay. So basically, I presume that when you say work and life at home, it means two separate segments. You go out and do your work, and then you come back and deal with your family issues. So, chariot, if one wheel is stuck, then the chariot won't move. So, when you are at work, your boss, your subordinates, or your equals, or those whom you teach, they expect that you should be present in the moment. You can't say that yesterday there was a family squabble and therefore I can't teach today. No, that's not allowed. And similarly, you can't come back home and say that there was such a big row, such a big heated discussion in a college meeting that I won't be cooking lunch today, or I won't be doing whatever work is there required for me today. So how do you strike a balance? We have various aspects of our personality. So we have our physical personality, we have our mental personality, we have our social personality. Physical personality, by keeping yourself fit, because as you said, you have to teach and also you have to manage a family. So physical fitness is a must. For emotional well-being or for mental well-being, I shared a few tips. We didn't have much time, but we can go in detail. I'm available for any private discussion if you want to have. How do you keep yourself mentally fit? And the social aspect is where you understand your emotions, you understand the emotions of others. There are so many books coming out about work-life balance, which means that it is an important subject. You know, one funny thing, some people say there is nothing like work-life balance. You either take one and leave the other, or take that one and leave this. But I believe that maybe a full balance is not possible, but it is a lifelong thing. It is a constant thing. And if you keep yourself physically fit, if you emotionally understand others' emotions, how to take care of them, you understand your emotions and how to take care of them. For that, if you practice meditation, yoga, and then take care of the social personality, you could be at least markedly successful in having this balance. That much I can assure you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind reply regarding this. This is a very important topic in today's life. So I liked it to discuss it with everybody. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Meanwhile, there's a question in the chat as well. I'll read that.
Yeah.
Respected sir, please tell me about concentration towards work.
Can you repeat the question?
It says like, please tell me about concentration towards work. How to develop concentration towards work.
Consultation?
Concentration.
Concentration. Okay, concentration towards work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vedic wisdom talks about three modes of work. I'll give an example and it will be very clear to you. A contractor, this is a story from Europe. A contractor found that there was a big construction site, and since he was into construction, contracting of labor, he went and asked the first person who was breaking rocks, my dear sir, what are you doing? He says, can't you see I'm breaking rocks? No, but why? What for? So he said, well, they're going to construct some big cathedral here. That's what I understand. And I really don't know anything more than that. He goes to a second worker who seems to be very concentrated. And he says, sir, can I disturb you for a second? He said, what? What is it that you are doing here? He said, well, I'm a laborer and I work with rocks, and I was working in my village and I was told that this place gives double the wages. So therefore I came here. That's it. So the contractor was saying, okay, the first one had nothing to do with what was being built. The second one was thinking that this one gives me double the wages. So that is his motivation. He goes to a who also was equally concentrated in his work, and he had kind of a smile on his face even while he was sweating out in the sun. He said, my dear sir, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm so excited that finally the local people said that they will build this big cathedral here, and I'm so happy that I got a chance to serve in building this house for God. Three people, three cases, but totally different ways in which they saw their work. So one is called, the first one, a worker in the mode of ignorance, having no idea of what is being done, for whom, for what, whether that work is adding any value in his life. The second one, quite a bit higher than the first one, but only interested in double wages. If tomorrow something else offers double wages, he will go there. The third one is an example of the best possible combination of hand, brain, heart, and soul. This person would, if you want to know who is likely to take more training, who's likely to improve his concentration at work, who is interested in increasing his concentration at work, it is the third one, and that person is is described as a worker in the mode of goodness. So goodness or sattva is a big topic. The Veda and Vedantas are filled with that. Mahabharata, Ramayana also talks about that. The Gita gives you a very succinct understanding. I'm not saying that other scriptures don't have it. Like this example comes from Europe. But what I'm saying is, since I represent the Vedic tradition, I feel that the Bhagavad Gita, if you read about sattva, you can very easily improve your concentration by improving the quality of sattva or goodness in your life.
Yeah, thanks a lot for such enlightening answer. Like, I got a thank you from the person who asked the question as well.
You're welcome.
I
Sir,
can't read.
Sir,
Yeah.
how to increase the forgetness?
Can you say it again, please, sir?
How to increase the forgetness?
Forget, you want to increase, you want to increase how to
forgetness.
No, forget, if you forget, why you want to increase it?
No, to improve the memory.
Oh, to